a minute or so. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to SIA's webinar on our Seeds Request for Proposal webinar. We are super excited to be launching this initiative and to be talking through the basics of it today with you all. My name is Lily Smith. I am joined by my colleagues Will, who will be going over the background and context for the creation of this opportunity, and then Laura, who will be supporting with the back end controls and taking some of that pressure off of us hosts. Um, and just as a couple housekeeping details, as folks are still joining us, please note that the webinar is being recorded. So if you were not able to attend live, you will be receiving the recording and the slides, as well as any of the resources mentioned throughout the presentation following this call. I hope to do that tomorrow, but that might be a little ambitious. But then we are also encouraging lots and lots of questions. So if you have any, we would direct you to plop them in the Q&A box, and our goal is to get to those at the end of the presentation. We will also at that time indicate that you are allowed to raise your hand, and if I can figure out the controls, I will unmute you and allow you to ask your question in front of the whole audience. I'm going to move to the next slide. Let's see. So for those of y'all that are new to SIA, SIA stands for the Southeast Energy Efficiency Alliance. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization based in the Southeast. We serve 11 Southeast states from Louisiana and Mississippi in the west part of the region to Kentucky and Virginia in the north part of the region. We also serve Hawaii and then the 5 island territories. We promote energy efficiency as a catalyst for economic growth, workforce development, energy security, and as an opportunity for healthy and affordable housing for all Southeasterners. We do so through 4 different focus areas. We provide research, which Dr. Will Bryan is in charge of here at SIA, consultation and education, facilitation, program management, and financial services. So, a brief agenda for today. It is very bare bones because our intent is to spend lots of time answering questions. But like I teased up, I'm going to hand it off to Will in just a second to discuss the background and context for why this program came to fruition. And then I will begin talking again. I'm probably going to talk your ear off by the end of today's call by going over the nitty gritty of the RFP itself. And then we are going to save approximately 30 minutes at the end for questions and answers. Okay, if we end early, so be it, but we're hoping to collect as many questions as possible. And then we will post those to our FAQ site on our website. And so at this point, I will turn things over to Will.
Great. Thanks, Lily. As Lily mentioned, my name is Will Bryan. I'm the Director of Research at SIA. We're really excited about this program. And if you go one more slide, I'm going to kind of dive in a little bit of, to the why of, why are we doing this and why now? One of the things that we have realized serving the South is that the South is a little bit unique in a lot of ways. One of those ways, though, is in the level of energy insecurity that many people in our region face. And Lily, can you go one more slide forward? Currently about 1 out of every 3 households in the South struggle to afford their energy bills from month to month. This is a higher proportion than many other regions of the country. And as you can see here from this map, you can see this is the proportion of households in each state that struggle, on a monthly basis to pay their bills. It really ranges from 23% on the lower end in Florida to Mississippi, where about 4 out of every 10 households struggle to afford their bills. And so, this initiative is really geared towards addressing energy insecurity and systemic energy insecurity, which is related to a lot of things. It's related to, the cost and quality of housing. It's related to access to capital to improve efficiency. It's related to, the available programs that a household can access for, energy or weatherization assistance. And so, really our goal with this initiative is to develop really place-based infrastructure that we can scale over time to support households throughout our region in accessing assistance that's going to reduce some of the barriers that they face in improving the quality, affordability, and efficiency of their housing, with an end goal of really, reducing the number of households in the South who experience energy insecurity. If you go to the next slide. So, a lot of the context surrounding this initiative is that there, in most communities throughout our region, there are a variety of existing energy efficiency or critical home repair programs or housing trust funds or other kind of demand side management programs that can help households who are struggling improve their efficiency, affordability, climate resilience. But there are a lot of barriers that people face in actually accessing these programs, which may, provide energy efficiency upgrades at no cost to a household, or other, deliver energy efficiency assistance through other mechanisms. There's a lot of research out there that shows why it's so difficult to access many of these programs. I think, one reason is just that they are hard to know about sometimes. It's not always something that's top of mind for many households who are kind of struggling. In some cases, there may be distrust of providers, whether that's utilities or other providers, by local households that kind of impedes their ability to apply. Applications, I think this is kind of a key one. Applications are often complex, and for assistance, you often have to apply to multiple programs, and so you have to both know about those programs and navigate multiple, often very complex applications to get assistance. And there's little coordination between those programs. And then kind of the last reason that we often see is just that, many of the programs that currently exist can disqualify you if you have, say, poor housing quality, a hole in your roof or something like that, or deferred maintenance. And there's often very little recourse for households that experience some sort of deferral from these programs. And so our goal with this initiative really is to kind of address all of these issues, to reduce the complexity of navigating the many different programs that exist in particular, locations in the South, to, provide case management assistance to residents to help them kind of understand what they may qualify for, navigate, the program complexity and application complexity that they may face. And then to think about how these different programs kind of coordinate together, and how they can, help a household go deeper with their retrofits or with their energy efficiency upgrades. And ultimately, by doing that, to really kind of drive participation in existing programs and greater coordination and stacking of funding between existing programs that may exist in a particular community. Next slide, please. So to do this program really is doing two things. One is that it is braiding funding from existing programs, whether that be utility programs, nonprofit home repair initiatives, housing trust funds, or really any other similar source of funding that can help a low-income household improve the quality and efficiency of their home. And then the other kind of aspect is providing marketing and case management assistance to households to navigate those programs, kind of understand how they all fit together, what they may qualify for, and then helping them kind of navigate the process of applying and participating in those programs. And so, the way we see SIA's role in this is really working alongside community partners who are on the ground, to kind of understand and identify communities who are, underserved by these programs in each city, and to develop kind of a model for stacking funding from different programs, aligning it, and making sure that, we're tapping into each program that may be available, and supporting households and kind of understanding what they can access. And then on the other hand, our community partners role is really doing the actual marketing to priority communities and providing case management assistance for residents in applying for programs. And again, SIA, we are a regional organization. We're not necessarily working on the ground in many of these communities. And so, we really have to rely on local governments or community-based organizations or other, groups that really are engaged with their community to help, expand access to these programs. And so that's really kind of the role of, that this RFP plays in securing community partners for this initiative. Next slide, please. And through this, we have a number of different goals. One is to, increase enrollment in existing and or underutilized programs. We hope to reach at least 5,000 households across SIA's footprint, which is significant. And, I think we can talk a little bit more about what that looks like in a minute for each initiative or each kind of local engagement. But that's our overall goal. Another goal is to deploy microgrants to local communities to provide case management assistance to residents in a very hands-on way. That's essentially what we're talking about today. And then, our kind of ultimate goal is that we're going to help lower energy costs and energy burdens for participating low-income households. We're going to kind of reduce barriers to accessing needed assistance that is out there already. And we're going to help communities get access to that assistance so that they can make real changes to the efficiency, to the quality, to the affordability of their households. And then finally, we want to scale this effort regionally and in each of these communities, and then share what we've learned with others as we're thinking about how to stack funding, how to provide effective, like place-based case management assistance and that kind of thing. Next slide. Okay, so our focus area is slightly different than SIA's overall territory, but the kind of eligible states are Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. In the RFP, we did include a set number of cities that we were interested in seeing applications from, but really want to stress that all organizations serving these states are welcome to apply, and we will weigh every application equally, regardless of geography. So we're excited to see where the applications come from and which communities are being represented. Okay. And I think at this point, I'll turn it over to Lily to talk a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of the application and the criteria that we're going to use to evaluate applications.
Great. Thanks, Will. Yes, be ready to be tired of my voice, and I probably will have to stop for some water breaks. So please be prepared for that. I am excited to talk to you today about the details that go into the RFP itself. That being said, if you are interested in following along with us, you're welcome to do so by scanning this QR. It takes you to the RFP on our specially designed SEEDS website. Actually, I should give kudos to Laura, who helped pull that together. It's got a bunch of helpful resources for the leading up process to submitting those RFPs, including the landing page for all of the FAQs that have been sent to us vis-a-vis our RFP at SIA Alliance inbox. And so will be a great place to come back and collect more information as you are preparing those applications, or once the awardees are actually selected, we will be utilizing that site to collate resources. So if you'd like to scan along and follow along with the sections that I will be discussing today, you're welcome to do so. And so we'll hit on this a little bit with the context section and discussion for why this program was really designed, but we're going to reiterate a couple of things here because we really want to bring the point home. So through SIA's relationships with utilities, state energy offices, local governments, nonprofits, et cetera, community-based organizations and ministry groups, we know that there are excellent and widespread programs that do a lot of things and provide a lot of support to help lessen the burden of energy costs or home repair on low-income and underserved populations. But at the same time, we know that there are as many programs as there are often areas in which they are underutilized. And that's primarily due to two major barriers: trust and awareness deficit. Trust being whether the provider of said resources is somebody that the community has a trusting relationship with. What's the relationship? What's their history? And then the awareness deficit, simply perhaps not enough people know about the program. Maybe there's not enough marketing that's been happening that really spreads the word about the great program going on. And then the second is the administrative barrier, is kind of the barriers that come up when it comes to filling out the application itself. The barriers could present themselves as not having access to internet to fill out an online application, or as you are filling out the application, realizing that you're going to have to track down more information about household members. There's any numerous components of the application process that can be a barrier to customers or potential participants really finishing their applications and enrolling in a program. So our RFP and the prize design that we've come up with helps to kind of overcome those major barriers by utilizing trusted community partners who have experience in this space to provide case management and marketing to households in their communities. And our intent with this is to help eligible households have better access to resources to navigate the programs, and then inevitably have funding and access to more healthy housing so that we can all realize affordable, healthy housing in this region. So next slide. So there are three main components of what we are asking our applicants to be able to provide. So the first one is provide targeted marketing of available programs. So this just means that you will be able to provide outreach and awareness through specialized communication processes to your underserved or underutilized, under-resourced, I should say, communities. So how are we going to make sure that the avenues that we use to reach those folks are actually reaching them? So it's more intentional marketing to reach the households we want to serve. Provide case management. So this is just being that trusted person or organization within your community that a household or potential participant can turn to have support in their application, filling out said details. And yeah, that's primarily it. It's pretty speaks for itself. And then support stacked funds. So this is an area that SIA will be really supporting. And it's basically collating multiple different funding sources within your community, should they exist, that can each solve a different piece of this puzzle in creating more affordable, healthy housing for folks. So perhaps your utility has a energy efficiency weatherization program, and then you have a ministry that provides a fund for energy assistance for your bills. We're hoping that we can tie together multiple pots of energy efficiency, home repair, weatherization type funding or programs to provide as many benefits to the household as possible. And so, yes, I'm going to be reading off this slide for the most part. Some basic details. The funding amount is between 10 to 15,000 per award. You're welcome to submit anything between there. Our goal is to award between 7 to 8 proposals. Will mentioned this, but I'll say it again. We are looking to fund awards in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. This is not due to favoritism, simply the funding source has a different Southeast region than SIA does. Once again, we have detailed the cities and municipalities that we have targeted in mind, but we really, really are excited to welcome and open up this opportunity to anyone serving any of these states that is willing to and able to deliver the services that we've discussed. So don't act or don't see those as a prevention to apply. This is a short project term. So we are looking to begin on January 1st of 2026, which is crazy that that's less than a month away, through May 31st of 2026. So a 5-month term period. For reporting, we've expanded upon this a little bit compared to what you might see in the RFP, just slightly. We are expecting project awardees to meet with SIA 3 times throughout the course of the project. So a individual kickoff call to get to know each other and learn more details about how we plan to do the project itself and just get to know the area that y'all are serving. One is kind of a midterm check-in to see what's going well, where you could use some support, and then just gleaning some learnings from y'all. And then the final one will just kind of be a wrap-up call about what we've learned, how we might replicate this in the future, what we could improve going forward, so forth, so forth. And then we are hoping, I've written here, 10 to full cohort calls. We'd love to create a community across the awardees. So we're hoping that we can have a kickoff call with the cohort. So with all 7 to 8 awardees, and then one at the end. So an opportunity to learn from each other, get to know other people in the region that are doing similar work, and should need be, create connections where we might be able to support each other moving forward. So that's 5 calls altogether, and then monthly reporting with the exception of a final report at the end. I know that sounds like a lot, but our intent for instance, the monthly reporting is to keep it very brief. And the same thing goes for the final report. So more to come on that as folks are awarded. Super basic copyrights and data rights. SIA and the awardees shall hold equal rights to all new data and materials arising from the award. Insurance awardees will be required to provide proof of general liability insurance. Okay. Yep. Okay. This is a dense slide. So basically, these are the 5 different criterion or sections that we will be that make up the proposal template. If you are following along and you scan my QR, this is slightly moved around. We just thought it would make sense for the presentation today. So you may just scroll. So the 5 different sections that we will be asking y'all to fill out your proposal about are the project summary and design, marketing and outreach plan, case management approach, qualifications and capacity, and then the long-term impact. So for the project summary and design, we're looking for an overview of the project, including your geographic area, what existing programs there are within that area that we might be able to utilize and leverage here. And then if you are partnering on this application, we would expect you to list all the partners and their roles in this section, as well as just a general project timeline of the activities that you expect to do throughout the project course. For the marketing and outreach plan, so these are all fairly self-explanatory from the title, but it's basically your plan for how you will market and provide outreach to the community. So how many households do you think are realistic that you could reach? What type of channels or mediums or community engagement approaches will you use? How will you make sure that your marketing engagement is going to be able to target folks and households who haven't had the access to capital for home upgrades, and how we make sure that they are not left out of the process. The 3rd section is case management. So what's your process for providing that hands-on case management to the potential program applicants? How will you identify those households? How will you support the applications and collaborate with SIA on stacking that funding? What communication methods do you anticipate using to provide that case management assistance? And then also an explanation on how your process will reduce the barriers across the program lifecycle for eligible households. Sorry, I'm reading off this a bit. For qualifications and capacity, so what is the experience of the prime applicant or the sole applicant or any other partner organizations. So we want to see that you have a demonstrated success in working directly with the types of communities that we hope to target, that you have experience administering and or facilitating access to these program types. And then 3, that you have managed grant-funded projects of a similar scope and scale in the past. And then for long-term impact, we want to know how this project will generate community momentum, build capacity, and then really advance the projects and the priorities of this initiative beyond the life and the 5-month period of this project. Okay. And so based on the proposal template and the 5 different components that you will submit, I should also mention there's a page limit, and that you should just refer to the RFP for more detail on that. For the proposal submission and review, there are 4 different criterion that we are using to grade these: organizational capacity and project feasibility, project implementation, program sustainability, and community impact. For the first, organizational capacity and program feasibility, we want to see that the proposal has demonstrated that the prime and their partners, or just the sole applicant, have the organizational capacity, expertise, and resources to carry out their work plan successfully. So a highly graded proposal would have demonstrated that they have an effective project approach. The activities will help achieve the goals of the project, that their partners are strong in doing these efforts as well, if that's applicable, and that the project timeline is realistic. For project implementation, this is really related to kind of the actual numbers of this. So we want to see that the proposal that you've submitted clearly articulates what your expected program metrics are. And so what we're really targeting is the number of households you reach. So 2 different things: number of households you reach, whether that be through a flyer, whether that be through a presentation, whether that be through radio, what have you, and then the number of household enrolled in programs. So I really see this as the case management part, the hands-on part of this program. We're actually sitting down and helping people get enrolled in programs. And then as part of those metrics, we want to see that the way that you intend to achieve those metrics seems realistic and is persuasive in order to meet those goals. And so because we have this overarching goal of reaching 5,000 folks through, or households through this initiative, that divided by 7 or 8 means that the plan that you submit should reach about 500 to 700 households and enroll at least 60 households in relevant programs. So for program sustainability, the program clearly indicates how the project will generate lasting momentum, build organizational capacity, or provide actionable insights that can advance engagement beyond the end of the project term. So what's the continuation of this? Is there lasting impact that we can see? For community impact, the proposal clearly indicates or details how the project will prioritize services for underserved communities, especially low income or capital constrained, who will benefit most from these types of programs. I'll leave it at that for that one. So just some important dates to remember. The RFP was released on November 10th. It closes on December 10th, so that's next week, at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. We know that we probably have some folks from Central Time that would be submitting as well, so that's why I wanted to detail this here. The review period, of which our team will be reviewing all the applications we receive, is pretty quick. We're hoping to get these awards out quickly. We are aiming to have those reviews completed between December 11th and December 16th. And then in mid-December, we will have the award notifications sent, and this will begin the whole contract, award negotiations and just getting down to the more specifics of that. And then the project start date is January 1st, 2026, and the project end date is May 31st, 2026. Okay, just a slide or so more. Just as a reminder, all proposals must be submitted electronically in PDF format via email to RFP@SIA Alliance with the subject line written there. This is also the email that you are welcome to send any questions that we do not get to today. And we are accepting questions to that email. I believe it's December 8th, which is next Monday, through midnight Eastern. And so that's our goal, is to answer any questions that come in through then. And then, submit your applications at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday, December 10th, to that inbox and at that subject line. Let me see. So before we get to your questions, maybe we can preempt some of them. We've had a couple of questions come in thus far, and we just wanted to go over those real quick. Can multiple organizations collaborate on an application? Yes, certainly. SIA will only be issuing one contract. So if there are multiple organizations partnering, they must designate a lead applicant, or prime, as I was using earlier, who will be responsible for submitting the proposal and managing the contract. Can organizations submit an application for more than one city? Yes, an organization may submit up to 2 applications as prime. You might notice we designate prime there. You are, in theory, allowed to partner on as many applications as you might like. What is the funding source of these micro grants? Um, are they going to be wiped away, essentially? Lots of concerns around this one. So the micro grants are funded philanthropically, and the funding is secured. We did want to offer that reassurance. So there is no risk of funding being paused, canceled, or withdrawn once awarded. And I'm finally done. I'm hoping lots of y'all have been putting your questions in the Q&A box. I'm probably going to let Laura and Will take over the vast majority of that. I believe, I don't want to overpromise that if you raise your hand, I might be able to unmute you. Somebody can be my test dummy and we'll try it. But otherwise, I will let y'all get to answering some of those questions.
Thanks, Lily. Yeah, we've had a number of questions in the chat, so maybe I'll do a quick review of those just for anyone who hasn't seen them, because I think we had a lot of great questions. Um, we have answered that one. We had a question about kind of what types of organizations could apply, and how to demonstrate alignment with the marketing, case management, and fund stacking. And so, I think we're open to kind of a broad range of organizations that work in the community. As long as you can demonstrate that the funding would support efforts to both, do outreach and provide case management assistance to eligible residents, and that have a pathway to do that and experience doing that. We have a question about, can a local organization work with priority neighborhoods where they already have a partnership? Yes, absolutely. That's wonderful. I think, SIA can help support some, efforts at like prioritization or targeting where needed. But if you already have a relationship, I think that's outstanding. So we would certainly welcome that. We had a question about if this grant had a specific cadence in which RFPs are sent out. Were there other cycles in past years? This is the first RFP that we have released for this initiative. It's based on a pilot project from the city of Savannah, Georgia, and the city of Athens, or the Athens-Clarke County municipal government in Georgia, that wrapped up in 2023 that was a little bit similar to this. And this is really an effort to scale those two initiatives that we thought were really, really successful. And that was kind of focused on providing case management. So this is the first RFP that we have released regionally, focused on this initiative. We certainly hope to scale this in the future, dependent on funding. Are municipalities like the city of Decatur eligible to apply? Yes, absolutely. Municipal governments are eligible to apply, either as sole applicants or also in partnership with others as well. We had a question about, can you sort of how you should indicate the amount of funding you're requesting. We're asking you to please indicate the exact amount of funding that you believe you require for the project to meet the goals that we've indicated in the RFP. The 10 to 15 is kind of a general guideline. I mean, we don't want to see applications over 15 because we can't support that, but kind of in between those numbers is sort of where we expect to see most of the applications. I'll just note we're not requiring a full budget at this stage. Part of that is just to kind of simplify and help you in terms of providing less time. So we want to see your best estimate of exactly how much it would cost to meet the goals that you've laid out, but we don't need a full budget at this stage. There's a question about case study on the two pilot projects that happened previously. I don't know that we have anything public on those yet, but we probably should. So let me see what we can find, and we'll certainly be happy to share some information either on the RFP website or on SIA's website.
Well, we probably have a webinar recording
That's
of
true.
that somewhere.
Yeah.
That is in our YouTube archives that I
Okay.
can dig up.
We will find that and be happy to share it with you. All right. I think the last couple, we've got a question about whether local organizations will be connected to the utility in the area and provided educational materials by SIA or utilities with energy efficiency, weatherization, home repair programs. I think yes. I mean, again, this is this is pretty flexible, and we want to, SIA's goal is to really support local partners in the way that's going to be the most helpful in this process. So if, if part of that is being connected with a local utility who is administering programs, absolutely, we can help support that and facilitate that. If you require certain educational materials, I think that's something certainly that SIA can support as well. Our goal really is to kind of help facilitate this process as best that we can, either through connections or design or materials. We will share a copy of the webinar at the conclusion of today's webinar. And then we had one last question about can the targeted population include renters? Yes, absolutely. And we can, help, local partners think about what funding may be available to support, upgrades in renter households as well, if that is helpful. Okay. I see many more that have come in, so maybe I'll just try to kind of take these as we go. Although I saw Laura, did you had your hand up?
Yeah, do you want me to read them out loud or?
Yeah. Do you mind?
Okay. Yeah, so the first one we haven't answered is how will SIA identify targeted populations and collaborate on identification/braid funding streams?
Yeah. So, a lot of this, so I think to maybe take the last part of that first, SIA, once we've selected local partners, can do a deep dive into what types of funding are available, what the requirements are, and develop a work stream for actually stacking funds that can then be used by local partners. When it comes to identifying targeted populations, I think, some of that is engaging with you, the local partners, and seeing, what the needs of the community are. SIA can bring in data to help, support that, whether that's, data on energy costs and energy burdens, or data on energy use intensity, the kind of quality and efficiency of housing. That is the type of data analysis that we can support if it's needed. But, I think we're certainly happy to help support, as needed on both of those counts, with local partners as well. Okay.
Thanks. Well, the
Yeah.
next question is as far as marketing and outreach, will SIA provide a toolbox or a package with information ready to be disseminated through all possible channels, i.e., social media materials, website, email marketing?
We can. I think it's going to be really dependent on the partners, and what marketing and outreach channels they think are going to be most effective. And I should back up and say SIA is certainly not an expert on outreach to local communities, and so we really have to defer to our local partners on what is going to be most effective at getting this information in front of people. In some communities, we've heard that may be like community meetings. In other communities, it may be different. And so, we're certainly happy to support our local partners in providing, whatever materials are going to be helpful depending on the context. And so, I think all of that is the type of support that SIA can provide, certainly dependent on the model, which I think will probably be a little bit different in each community that we're funding work in.
Yeah, I think that highlights how we want these to be place-based.
Mhm.
And that leads me into the next question, which says, if an organization is stronger in case management and marketing/outreach, but weak on the fund stacking, will they still be considered?
Yes, absolutely. I think that is, the fund stacking is some expertise that SIA can bring to the table to help local partners. The expertise that we don't have is case management, marketing, and outreach to local communities. And so I think, we would certainly consider that application strongly. And, I think SIA can help support, developing processes in each location to stack funds and figure out where there are gaps and maybe how we can fill it with funds from CDFIs or others that might be available as well. But, I think the area where we really don't have capacity is kind of in that local, case management and marketing, and just knowledge of the community, I think, as well. So yes, absolutely.
We have two more questions
Mhm.
left in the Q&A. The next one is, can the funds be used to identify available programs and their processes?
I think yes. I would say, we would want to see the majority of funding go to the, go to the actual kind of outreach and case management. I think what I'll say though is that SIA can support the identification of programs and their processes. So I think that's kind of how we would frame it, is that SIA can provide staffing and kind of subject matter expertise to support identifying, funds, programs that are available in each community. Again, casting a really wide net, because we're not just thinking about weatherization or energy efficiency. We're thinking about kind of any type of program or funding that's going to touch the quality, of someone's home. So SIA, has some expertise in that area, and we can bring that to support local partners. I think when we sign contracts with a local partner, we would want to see the majority of that funding go to outreach and case management.
The last question we have is also about how those funds can be used. This one says, if a resource fair or housing event is planned, will funds cover refreshments?
They can, yes. There's no restriction on that from our funder. So yes, they can. Great.
Thanks, Will.
Absolutely. Any other questions that we have not answered?
I just indicated in the chat that if you do have a question or you rewatch this webinar as you are brushing your teeth tomorrow morning and you have a striking question, then you are welcome to email rfp@siaalliance.org. We are hoping that we are able to write down all your questions and answers today and upload them to our website where this RFP lives. And when we email out the recording of this webinar, you'll be able to see those live as well. You'll be sent the link to that. I will stall as any other questions come in and move to this next slide. If you already have a feeling that you are going to apply and you would just like to give SIA a heads up on that, you're obviously not required to do so. You are welcome to scan this and just indicate your intent to apply. Not required at all. Gives you no head start in your application process. Just gives SIA a better idea of what types of applications we might be expecting, where we might be expecting applications from, if we need to encourage more applications in one state, what have you. We just like to get a little teaser. So if you'd like to submit that, you're welcome to. Laura, you have your hand up.
Yes, we had one more question come in. It says, I'm in Mississippi. Will you provide the energy burden map?
Great, thank you. Yes, we can direct you to some great resources, data resources on that. And we will, we will essentially, we'll follow up with that and make sure that those resources are included on our website as well.
And then one more came through. What is the
Yep.
draw schedule for funding?
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll just provide one lump sum. Yep. At the outset of the project.
Okay.
Great.
I'm moving at a snail's pace in case any others come up. But if not, we're really appreciative to everybody that's joined today. We hope you're as excited about this opportunity as we are. Feel free to reach out to that inbox that I've dropped and probably said like 15 times with any other questions, comments, what have you. Hopefully your applications in a week or so. Yeah, and for all of y'all that are already doing work like this in the region, we are entirely grateful for the work that you're doing, and we hope that our efforts don't duplicate that, but rather amplify it. And so we're excited to partner. And yep, I knew my snail's pace would work. What reporting is required if awarded? I think maybe I can answer that one.
Yeah, do you want to take?
Sure. We are going to do basically, I believe it will end up being five different written things. One is a monthly report with a couple just details on what you've been doing over the last month, what's going well, what's not, and then a couple different, literally two different charts that you'll fill out, just based on the engagement activities you've had and the case management that you've done. So we're just trying to collect some metrics on that, and then we anticipate a final report at the end. But Will and I have discussed the page length of that, but I don't anticipate more than like 5 to 7 pages on that one. Just basically a summary of what you've done and your opportunities for application, opportunities for strengthening the approach, what have you. You will be sent templates for all of this. We intend to make it as simple for our awardees as possible to do. If you do not have enough applicants for the funds, is there a potential opportunity for additional funds to a selected organization? Will?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Yes, potentially. I mean, we have a pot of money that will stay the same regardless of how many applicants we get. So, our plan is that if, for instance, we did not receive the number of applicants, then we would, redistribute that among the awardees. We have received a good response, and so I don't know that we'll necessarily, I would not bank on that or plan on that necessarily. And, I think when we see proposals come in, we would like them to be within the kind of funding guidelines that we included. But it is not, I would say that is possible.
Okay. Well, as I always like to say, sensing a lull, um, yeah, thank you for everybody that joined today. We will be providing the recording vis-a-vis YouTube, the slides, and then any of the resources mentioned today. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and we look forward to hopefully working with a lot of y'all in the future. So have a good rest of your afternoon. Goodbye.